Hey guys, welcome back to DVC Live. It's been a long time since I've seen you, already 5 minutes. So I'm super excited that we have two different authors sharing tonight. We have J. Billy in the house. He is the proud principal. He is the author of Lead with Culture. We are super duper excited to have him on the show. So if you are joining us for the second show, please do enter your name over in the comment section. Tell us who you are, where you're from. And last time we shared something that was amazing that happened this week. Maybe share something, some way that you are going to take care of yourself this weekend. We're getting close to the weekend, so let's try something a little bit different in case we have the same people joining in. So share some way that you are gonna take self-care as a priority this weekend. And before we get too far into the show and have Jay talk to us, I do want you all to know that every single comment over in the comment section will enter you to win either one of these books. So you could win Lead with Literacy, which we just talked about, or you could win Lead with Culture. So you do want to get something over in the comments. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us who you are, where you're from. As Jay is talking, if you have questions for him, drop those over there. All of those comments are just multiple entries for free books. So you got to get them in there. Jay, before wasting too much of your time, let's go ahead and dive into, share a little bit about you, what you're doing over at your awesome elementary school as a principal, and yeah, what's happening in your world right now.
Well, we started the year virtually, so we've been in a hybrid back and forth for about, I don't know, since October. We went to hybrid, then we ended up having to go virtual again and went hybrid. So we're starting to bring more and more students back. After we have a spring break in a week, after spring break, we're going to try to combine some of the hybrid kids to make larger groups. We're still kind of staying to that 6 foot thing. So yeah, it's not been a normal school year by any means, but I mean, no year is ever normal. But I like I said, our staff has just been so amazing, and our students are so resilient. I can every day I see something amazing happening in the school. I see teachers, traveling to students' houses to connect with them. We have basically partnered with our families because you have to. They're in your classroom every day, and the parents have been so gracious and so helpful. And again, I wish I could say, I like having all the kids in school, and that's, just like you, Tara, I miss the hugs and the high fives and the things like that. And I can't wait till the day that I can put, you've been there. So I can't wait till we can have 400 kids in the all-purpose room, shouting and singing and dancing and those things, but that's going to be a ways away. So we just take it as we can get it. And it's been pretty amazing, pretty amazing.
And your school culture is just so precious. I have had the opportunity to join Ben Franklin. I love the school, love the people, and get to feel what it really feels like. So I love your book, Lead with Culture, because I didn't just read that book, but I later got to experience it. And I think experiences just go a long ways. Like we were talking about earlier, we can tell people they're valued all the time, but until they feel it, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really count, if you will, if we just think it and they can't feel it. Same with the school culture. If you tell people I have a great school culture, but the people inside it don't feel it, that just doesn't equate to the same thing. So Jay, I know you've created this wonderful culture. You wrote this book. I would love if you just told a little bit about the book and why you decided to write it, just in case anyone hasn't had the opportunity to read it just yet. By the way, the links are above and below this video, depending on where you're watching it. But you also can check it out on our website, daveburgessconsulting.com. Go to books, and you can click his book and preview it for free. Or you can just listen to Jay tell us a little bit about why he wrote the book and what he hopes the readers gain from it.
Well, first of all, you're too kind, Tara, because really, I didn't create anything. The staff and the people I work with, who just love the kids so much and want to do the best for kids, are really who create that. I hope I had a positive influence along the way. I actually wrote the book because I had stories to tell, like things that we did that seemed to work. And as I got connected through Twitter and became a connected educator, people kept asking, well, how'd you do this and how did you do that? And then I started doing kind of like Dave's story, where you start doing PDs and talking about things, and then the book just kind of came. It came from the experiences that I had as close to 20 some years as a leader in education, and so I felt like I just wanted to share those things to make things that we did to make our school amazing. And again, all the credit goes to the amazing staff and the students and families who put up with my craziness, really, and my attention deficit. I don't sit still well. So really, and just kind of bought into that, that philosophy of just making school fun and amazing and a special place every day. So that's kind of where the book came from. I heard Mandy talking about her book before, and I have some chapters to add, since writing it. I guess it was it'll be in May, it'll be 3 years or whatever, but there's a lot I've learned. And again, because I don't sit still well, I feel like the experience just keeps growing, and hopefully we keep getting better.
Yeah, it's so true. And then, of course, now going through the pandemic, I feel like all of us have chapters to add. We're like, yes. Oh, dang, we didn't know we knew this. We didn't know we could do this. But yeah, we have, when I visited Jay's school, I'll just tell a fun story since we have just a little bit of time. We wore silly hats. He had all these silly hats strung across his office by a big fishing line, like all the way across, just hats everywhere in this big, huge hat rack. And I don't know, theater was just so fun for me in high school. I still love acting, obviously. And I just couldn't wait. I'm like, oh, do we just get to choose from any of these hats? Because you said, let's grab a hat. We're going to greet the kids as they get off of the bus or get out of their cars for pickup or as they're walking up to school. And oh, that was so fun. And we had this big remote control something. I don't remember what it was. It's like a robot.
Yeah, robot.
A remote control robot that was out there too. But I mean, who wouldn't want to? And these kids were literally busting down the doors. Dave, you'd be so proud because in Teach Like a Parent, Dave quotes this. The kids should be running to get in and not out of school. That is what you see when you visit Jay's school. I mean, kids are sprinting to get in there, of course, hugging you on the way in, and can't wait to see what crazy hat you have on or what is out there waiting for them, which was a remote control robot that day. So keeping it interesting is always the way to go. And I know there's ways to do this virtually as well. So Jay, I would just love, we've been on the show to sharing anywhere strategies, just something that's working for you, some inspiration you've recently got from a book you're reading. Could be anything. Just inspire us a little bit tonight of what's happening or what has been going on at your school that you feel like other people might benefit or want to try or kind of tweak it and make it their own.
Well, you want me to share. I like something that's been on my mind is that, and I saw a great video this morning, and I wish I could share the name of it. I don't have it in front of me, but this idea of we've had a year now where school isn't the way it used to be, and this idea about learning loss. We have to take care of that learning loss, and it's so frustrating to hear those terms and people talk about that. This pandemic has not been what we wanted, obviously, and so many people have suffered. Their families have suffered, but some things that have happened, we have to take into account. First of all, teachers have learned a new way of teaching, basically overnight. Really, I mean, things that they've done for 20 years, they just no longer can do or want to do anymore. So our teachers have grown so much, and then it's forced us to prioritize what's really important. As I said to my staff all the time, and I say all the time. What was important in your brick and mortar classroom is important in your online classroom, and it's those relationships and the love that the kids can feel that back and forth. And some of our kids have grown creatively, have grown. Many of them have grown academically. Again, there's the I never want to say there's the few that kind of got lost in the shuffle, but it they've learned skills that they're going to be able to use, the adaptability and the resilience and the perseverance that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. Yeah. So sure, that we might not have got to chapter 10 in the math book, but you know what? We'll get there. When they're there, we'll get them there. But like the thing that is so amazing is, like I said, our kids have learned how to be, what to do when they're bored. Like the creativity that comes from that, it's so important. And like I said, so we need to stop talking about getting caught up and doing all those things. We need to be like excited about where they are and where we're going, and I say that all the time because it really, one of the things that schools have done and do for so long, especially when standardized testing, and I say this to my staff and to my kids and families, we do standardized tests and our kids aren't standardized. And we have learned about some of the inequities that were going on in our school that we might have been able to bypass. And we've had to address them and work to support all of our kids, those quiet kids in the back of the room, those kids who might not have internet at home, those kids who are high achievers. We have to support all of them. And so, like I said, the staff and students and our families have become partners in the classroom instead of just checking in twice a year for conferences.
Grades, yeah.
And grades. So like who are, they talk about kids falling behind. Who are they falling behind? They're not falling behind anybody. The whole world is in a pandemic and we're surviving the pandemic. And, one of the things that I constantly talk about, like when we talk about the idea of changing education for the future, and I believe I have some crazy ideas, but this is the time. Like this is the time. Don't come back the way it was. Come back to a new future, to a better future. Those norms that we had before are gone. We can do something better. Let's think about it. Another thing that frustrates me, and again, I could just keep talking about this. I apologize if you want more questions, but one of the things that came out really early on in the pandemic is how we've made school a place where we compare kids against each other. It's always a competition. And at first it was the parents were into that too. Oh, I saw this school is doing this. I saw this teacher's doing this. How come we're not doing this? All this stuff. And it's so important that we compare our kids to themselves and the growth that they're making. This is a perfect time. Somebody just wrote perfect time for a revolution. Yes. We don't want to go back the way it was. We can do it differently. I have some ideas that are big time ideas, but even the little things. Obviously, the technology has changed everything. Has changed everything. I never did a Zoom, and now we do Zoom every day, and we can do so many cool things. And for teachers and leaders, we don't have meetings don't have to be the same anymore. We can interviews don't have to be the same anymore. All of those things that we do as teachers, as leaders of school buildings too, they can be different too. And we have to think that, sure, I need to see my people. I want to be knee deep in kids, but there's a lot of things that we can do that are different. And our kids are going to be so much better for it. And like I said, they're not falling behind. Okay. We'll meet them where they are when they return, whenever that is. And we'll just keep teaching them. And that's what I would really like to see schools become, think about is, why is it grade 1 or why is it grade 2 or third grade or fourth grade? Who said there's 12 grades? And I actually wrote a paper on this and did a lot of research on it, and again, it comes from the Committee of 10 way back in the 1890s, in Massachusetts. But it's, why don't we just teach them and teach them towards their passions and the things that they love to do, and then use those things to help them grow.
It's so
But, it's so important.
I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of times, I think Beth mentioned it over in the comments, we just measure the wrong thing. Yep. Like, so if they fall behind in math, well, they learned all these great life skills that are going to take them so much further than that chapter 10 in math. So don't worry about that. We will get chapter 10 in math later. It's going to be fine. And Dave and I were talking on a podcast interview recently about, what to hire for, when we're thinking about hiring. And I know that's taken it a whole other step, but if you are, it's interview season, it kind of makes sense. And it goes right along with what you're saying. What are we actually looking for in these people? Is it the things that we could later teach them, or is it those skills that they've learned and they've honed in and they can do? For example, them hiring me, he said, I hired you because you're a learner and because you desire to learn and because you connect with people. And those are all things that I can't teach you, but I could teach you everything else I needed you to learn. So literally took a job that I didn't necessarily have the qualifications for. And I think that's what we need to be thinking in the education system. So our kids fell behind this past year in literature or the grammar skill that you wanted to teach in one specific skill. Don't worry about it, because you know what? When I took my first teaching job, I didn't know any of those resources. I never used any of those resources right here in Kansas. In fact, I didn't even know Kansas history. I didn't know it. I never even experienced it. I came from Texas, but I'm a learner and I'm an educator and I wanted to do what was best for my kids. So guess what? I learned those things quickly. And I taught them. Like, not only did I have to learn them for a test, like I had to teach them to kids. And so don't fret about what they might have fallen behind in, because the things that they are learning and being able to pivot and watch adults in their life adjust and keep learning alive and keep building relationships and learn how to work. Some of our families have learned to get whole different jobs. They're now their own little entrepreneur because their job couldn't even keep them on. Little small businesses have learned a different way of doing business. And so the things that our kids are watching and learning on their own during this time are things that are going to last. It's stuff that's going to last for a long time. And one day people are going to hire them because of those skills and all the other things that chapter 10, they could teach them that. They're not worried about that. They'll teach them that. And then before you know it, they'll be running on their own. So I do think I couldn't agree with you more on this topic.
Yeah. So it's so true, Tara. Like I said, it's just, I've seen amazing things. And what the other piece, and again, it's not for all kids. I get certain kids, families have fallen apart because of the pandemic. And I don't want to discount that.
Right.
But kids enjoy nature because they're not overscheduled, with soccer practice and flute practice and this and that, all of those things. And like you said, the flexibility and adaptability that kids have learned, the whole world is learning too. Mm-hmm. And the second piece of this, because we've had multiple crises, the pandemic, and racial injustice and things like that. Kids have learned to watch how their parents react to such things.
Yeah, it's true.
And do they take action? And so some of our kids have become activists.
Yeah.
And that might not have happened if they were bogged down in the lessons and the homework and the soccer practice and the things like that. So, like you say, kids have learned the power of learning instead of the power of getting the grade.
So the process, right?
Yep.
The messiness of the process of learning too. And I think that's where all of us have had to adopt this beginner's mindset and know that, what, we might have had 20 years of teaching experience figured out, but we don't have it figured out now. So we get to try to start from scratch again. And I love that all the people around us, including my own son, which he's 19 now, but him watching us adapt as parents and the leaders in his life, the teachers, the professors in his life, him watching all that and learning, you know what, we can do things differently. Like, we are still going to make it. And even the people within my realm of influence that have had real struggles, lost their jobs, marriages are falling apart, lots of every single one of them around me, I hear them coming to saying stuff like, I would have never known that I could survive something like this. Not that they're stronger. I don't want to say that they're stronger afterward, because I don't know that you really feel strong in that moment. But learning in the messiness of the process is happening all around us. And our little learners are watching how we're handling all of this. So are they really falling behind? I think definitely not. I think they're learning a lot of things that they might have never learned had all of this not happened the way that it did. I don't wish this on anyone, but it happened. So we might as well learn through the process, right?
Yeah, we might not have, that got through the whole man-made curriculum guide, but we're making a new curriculum, and
Exactly.
and the pacing guide or whatever, that's all old. That's all old stuff.
Yes, indeed. Well, Jay, this has been such an honor. We are already ready to wrap this up. I can't believe how fast this goes. But if people want to connect with you, and by all means they need to, and if they're not already, how can they reach you? How can they connect with you? And remember, if you haven't got your comments over in that comment section, drop them over there. Tell us something good, ask a question, amen, whatever you want to say, because all those comments will enter you to win a free book. So, Jay, tell us a little bit about where people can find you if they want to connect.
They can find me on Twitter at jbilly2, JAYBILLY2. That's probably the easiest place. The letter JBILLY 455 at Gmail. That one too. Instagram jbilly21. So yeah, you'll see a lot about our school and a lot of stuff going on there. Or just call Tara. She has my number.
I'll get you all those contacts. Also, your website too, jbilly.com.
Oh yes, I have. Yeah, I have at leadlikeapirate.net. Yeah.
And we have leadlikeapirate.net too. Yeah. So be sure and check out all of the different places. I think I find Jay mostly on Twitter. So at jbilly2, that's a good place to find him. And watch the cool things that he posts from his school, because honestly, especially once they all get back in session, y'all, if you ever get a chance to visit in New Jersey, you should definitely drop by. That's what I did. And it was so worth it. And you will leave there with your cheeks sore from smiling so much, because the kids are just precious. And every single person, from the lunch lady all the way to anyone there, loves working there. You can stop and ask anyone. And I'm really not lying. I've never been to a school quite like that. So do visit. He definitely lives and preaches and walks his message. So thanks, Jay, for joining us today.
Blessed. So thank you, Tara. Thanks for sharing.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.